talk about the growth of going from 300 million, which is what I thought we were at, to 450, which it really gets me excited. But so people are going, there's no way. Like, what? How did you go through that much of a growth in 1 year? How do you add $150 million of production in 1 year? You had mentioned COVID, so maybe you can share with us a little bit about, like, this was one thing, this was something that we changed, that we saw a drastic change in our business, or is it just we've been doing the right thing for 10 years now, and it's just been a combination of addition to? Tell us a little bit about that kind of growth, because obviously now you talk about the infrastructure you have and the servicing and the marketing and all that, but how do we go and grow $150 million in a year? Maybe you can give us some of the commonalities that you've seen with that growth.
It comes down to what we'd been preaching. Like, you kind of hit the nail on the head. We've for a long time been preaching to the industry that, hey, these old school ways of doing things, like, I'll scale back. When I first came into this business, man, I was shocked to hear that you all were using junk mail to promote your workshops. That's how I look at it. Like, it's junk mail that's coming. You see that junk that comes in my mailbox that I go to once a week. Right. That's driving the traffic to your workshops. That's what this old school way of doing things. And I look at our industry and I'm like, okay, this industry seems to lag almost a decade behind the real estate world as far as marketing practices go, the technology world as far as marketing practices go. Like, so we can just look to those industries to find out what they're doing well. And that's what our industry will need in 5 to 10 years. Smart. And that's just what we did. I mean, Ryan and Lee had already put together the idea that they needed to work in the federal niche, and that niche marketing would be an important market to approach. But the way we were going about it back then was primarily through direct mail. Still, we were like reverse engineering stuff. And it wasn't until we took a lens at other industries that we found that there were better ways to approach just marketing in general, whether to the federal market or to the general population and the private sector or whatever. And we had preached the need for virtual promotion, social media promotion, just digital marketing needs to drive traffic to whatever you wanted to do, whether it be a workshop, whether it be an in-person appointment, whether it be a webinar, whatever it might be. We've been preaching that for almost better part of a decade. And then all of a sudden COVID happens and shuts every one of our competitors down. Every one of them is down because they didn't want to heed the call that we had. It exposed them. It exposed them for the lack of, and every one of our competitors was outsourcing their marketing needs to third-party vendors that, at the end of the day, were like going to keep forcing that round peg into square holes because that's where their capital investment was. The investment wasn't in line with the advisor. So 2 things I attribute this growth to. One, the ability to see that future of digital marketing, but 2, the fact that we had the foresight to build everything internally here because of one reason. We thought that advisors, IMOs, if they were going to take responsibility or pretend to take the responsibility of a customer acquisition needs, if you were going to take over the marketing of your advisors or suggest marketing solutions to them, it needed to be in-house because your incentives are in line with your customer. My incentives are, if you write business, I get paid. Just like yours are. If you write business, you get paid. So the best way to get quality marketing is if those incentives are exactly the same. If you just pay me out of pocket, if you pay me 10 grand to do a workshop promotion for you, whether it be digital or whatever, let's say Megastar opens up a marketing company tomorrow and you are going to pay us 10 grand. Well, my profits are built in. So what do I care if you close a deal 6 months from now? Right. But Megastar's approach is much different. And say, look, you're going to pay us the hard costs of what it costs to run that program, right? So if $2,000 is actual costs need to promote a workshop, that's all I'm going to ask from you. I'm not going to ask for the other $7,000 to pay my staff and all the cost of goods associated and the design work and all that stuff. No, just to run the promotion. These are the hard costs of it, And so that leaves us in a position where we both make profit. So what does that mean? I'm not going to mess up the quality of the prospect to put, just to make you aesthetically pleased for the night so that you'll come back and buy me another one, buy another from me. Right. But that's what I would attribute it to the two major reasons why we grew so quickly, and the rest of the industry was looking for ways to get in front of somebody. And they said, well, Megastar seems to do it, and they're not going to slash my commissions or make me pay enormous fees or anything like that. Well,
I think it's an important factor. Let me jump in real quick on that. I think it's an important factor because I remember before COVID, right, 2018, 2019, before this whole digital transformation happened, when I was talking to other advisors, I'm like, how you doing your Social Security seminar? It's like, oh yeah, we're still mailing out 6,000 piece mailers. I'm like, that's expensive, doing dinner seminars. And then you guys came down the pipeline. You're like, we're just doing it through Facebook. Like, meaning we were generating almost the same amount of registrants that for $2,000, like you said, hard cost $2,000, that we were paying $6,000, including a dinner seminar for, that a lot of other people were still doing. And to your point, with COVID, all of a sudden, we got completely shut down. I mean, if you were doing seminars, you were pretty much shut down for a long time. And even like I wouldn't still attend a dinner seminar today in the COVID world. So, the evolution has really changed the platforms you guys have built. And I've watched that. And I think that I can attribute to, I saw that firsthand, and I was like, yeah, these guys are 3-4 years ahead of where we are now with COVID, where now everybody is trying to catch up. But you've been doing it for 3 years. Now you didn't have to catch up. You're just still continuously perfecting it.
Right. And you were, obviously a young, ambitious advisor in the space back when you first joined us, and you saw that future. You already knew that from even in like the life insurance mortgage, like you had done a lot of mortgage protection before, and you were doing a ton of life insurance sales. And I think life insurance sales, mortgage protection, like they're even more advanced than the retirement planning marketing space.
I can agree.
It's a much more dog-eat-dog world there than it is retirement planning space. And so you had that foresight there, but a lot of advisors don't. They're like, why you let good enough, be good. That's good enough for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Look at what happened, let's call it pre-COVID. We were really trying to get into that virtual space. But the problem that we were running into at the time was even the carriers weren't really on board with this.
That's true. That's another huge.
That's a huge avenue right there, where we're trying to get this model to say, look, it's not just doing workshops based off of mailers. Let's do social media, but also let's do appointments. But why does it have to be in Tampa all the time? Well, can't we just open up the state lines? We were advocating for all the carriers to just open this up.
Yeah.
For really, I didn't really know how many other FMOs were trying to go virtual, but we were at that time.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And when COVID hit, that's when, the carriers were starting to lose business. Business was down because seminars weren't working.
Yeah.
So Alex hit it pinpoint that it really exposed our competitors that, they can't do these big events anymore. They can't do these rah-rah sessions, right? That they can't just go to the mail house to fix this thing. So where are you going to go?
Yeah. That's so true. Like you think about a lot of what our competitors would bring to the table would be these illusion events. I call them illusion events, where you bring everybody to this grandiose event in Las Vegas. We're going to rent out the Venetian. The entire hotel's going to be ours.
I'd sign up for it too.
You're going to come in, and I'm going to spend all this incredible money with you about talking about how every single producer is doing $1 billion in revenue. And all of a sudden you leave that event, you're high on that energy, and you leave and then you get home and they're like, just swipe the credit card, buddy.
Mail.
This
is how you do it. Try my radios.
But there's no real support, and then when the carriers came on board with the virtual stuff, that was a killer. I mean, that was the nail in the coffin for our competitors, as far as anybody that needed to get in front of folks. Once they opened up those cross-border abilities to do virtual appointments,
that's really when the federal program opened up, because we're federal employees, right?
They're everywhere. All over the United States.
Or all the United States, right? So,
and it opened up for that advisor that's in like Macon, Georgia, doesn't have a ton of federal employees in his backyard, but wants to work in a niche environment. Well, that guy can work appointments anywhere. And then it just came to us to say, hey, look, we got to teach you the sales process to go along with the virtual stuff. And that took a few months.
Well, you had to perfect it. I mean,
we ended up perfecting it, but it was advisors like yourself that were willing to lend a hand. And that again speaks to the culture of Megastar, 100%.
Right? You were a big component of that, buddy.
That are willing to speak about their processes. That helps us form a uniform sales process for our field advisors.
Yeah. And I think too, to that point, I'll speak from experience, what that allowed us to do when we were able to take those borders off, right? Because 2019, 2018, really all the way back to 2015, when you guys really started the federal program, I was one of the people that was on the road 24/7, right? I remember the first seminar I did with you guys. You were like, I was like, I'm in Florida, I'm in Tampa. Let me go do the Tampa. You're like, no, sorry, it's taken. All right, how about Miami? Sorry, it's taken. Like, I got bigger producers. I'm this person who's never written an annuity in my life, and these got big producers. So I was like, all right, where do I go? You're like, Connecticut. Like, I live in Florida, So, but that was such a big part of the journey. But not only that, it was limiting because I would have to fly to Connecticut. Right, I'd spend 6 weeks at a time there, and that's all I could do. And then I went to Virginia, right, and it was just, all right, I'm in Virginia. I can only be in Richmond for a day, and then I got to go to Roanoke the next day. Whereas this new way of doing business, it doesn't matter anymore, right? It allowed us to scale my company, with your guidance, allowed me to scale my business. Going, wait a minute, whoa. We don't have to do just Virginia anymore. Now we can do Texas, California, and Oregon in the same day. I never thought pre-COVID that was even possible because my old school mentality was, if I'm going to do a seminar, I got to do it right there in this little city, and I got to go back and take the appointments. But now it's like I sit in my office and I do virtual meetings, and this year alone, we have sold in 26 states. Me personally, 26 states I picked up clients in this year. I never thought that was humanly possible, but that's the scalability you guys are talking about with the digital world. I'm thinking again, so if that's been a big attribute of growing 150 million, I totally see it. I mean, we're having our best year ever because we took the barriers and the borders off of our limitations and our scalability.
It's like an unbelievable feeling to be able to talk with advisors, and they get to this point of like, hey, this doesn't sound even remotely true.
Well, we got a lot of skepticism.
I mean, this doesn't sound true at all. Yeah. And and they're like, okay, what's the catch? I want to, you want 70% of my comp or something. I'm like, no, we'll settle for the normal override. And they're like, oh, okay. And then, I was like, look, man, don't move any contracts. Don't do anything. You know what? Let me show you that it works. I'll be on the appointment with you. We'll work it together. And I'll prove it to you that it works. And then when they sit there and they're like, oh my gosh, it's like, now it's time to make a serious commitment,
But just a quick tidbit. I mean, a lot of people don't realize that Megastar, is really 5 companies within one, right? If anybody comes, visits the office, there's company, you have a federal company, a state company that just focuses just on federal employees, state employees, private sector, CPAs, right? We're trying to build this ability where it's consumer driven, and at the same time, not forgetting that our roots are based with the financial advisor.
Yeah. I mean, if we're going to take on the customer acquisition cost, we have to create consumer friendly brands to help create that customer acquisition. But yeah,
and it makes total sense. So you guys work with hundreds and hundreds of advisors, and you've seen some really good ones, and you've seen some ones that just bomb. And so what I'd like to know, and a lot of my viewers that are watching, because remember, a lot of the people that are watching this right now, they are where I was, right? They are in the final expense mortgage protection space, really not familiar with the annuities, AUMs, big IULs, whole life cases, where you guys really thrive more in. So what are some of the commonalities that you have seen amongst some of your bigger producers, right? You guys 20 million plus producers. But then again, you have producers that only do $1 million a year. What is the difference between, because if I'm hearing you correctly, same system, same products, right? Same trainings that you're offering, but why does one person do $1 million and another person does $5 million with the exact same platform? What are the commonalities of successful advisors that you work with versus the ones that are not?
It's a good question.
You want to take that?
Yeah, I mean, I've often told our team, it's like, look, man, you can talk to a $2 million producer out there, or a $1 million producer, $10 million producer, and they can talk about growth or whatever. But, most folks, you can't teach them to do more production. That's the common sentiment on the recruiting trail. It's like, oh, hey, I'm going to double your production. It's like, no, you're not. You're not going to double my production, not unless I want to double my production, which means doubling my output and doubling my commitment to working smarter. In my opinion, it's like these are the three things you can do as a business owner. You can maximize your time. That's generally what people do first. They maximize their time. They start working 80 hours a week if they're super successful. I'm 80 hours a week. I'm dedicated to my craft. At a certain point, though, you've got 80 hours and you can't. Your quality of life's going downhill if you throw that 81st hour on the table. So what did people start doing? They started looking at their numbers and like, I'm going to get a little better at closing or my processes. I'm going to start working smarter. So my 80 hours, I'm going to spend them a little. So I take 5 of those hours and I dedicate it towards getting better at my craft. Right. So now I'm spending 75 hours working my ass off, working my tail off. Sorry. And I'm going to spend 5 hours training myself or reading or getting better or talking with consultants or getting with a coach, whatever it might be. And at a certain point, now, the extra unit of effort applied towards getting smarter doesn't justify the amount of time it takes. It doesn't result in bigger numbers. So what do people start doing? Now they start looking at growing their practice by getting down more people to replicate themselves inside, right? So that I get other agents, I create a downline or something like that, or I get office staff or something like that, just something to free up my time a little more so I can spend it just doing the things that I'm excited or I'm the best at, right?
Yeah.
So at a certain point, like that's where you advise, unless you want to add more. So if you're a $10 million producer, you want to get to 20, well, that's going to be likely is going to be that you want to replicate yourself in others, right? Or you're going to hire more staff, or you're going to be doing something like that. If it's a $2 million producer wanting to get to 4 million or 20 million or whatever his goals are, well, then a lot of times it's having a hard conversation with them saying, look, you've maximized yourself. Are you working 80 hours a week? Yeah, I'm working 80 hours a week. You're busting your bump to get in front of a lot of people and you're doing well. Okay, well, look, I'm going to analyze your process. Where are the faults? What do you not do? You told me a long time ago, it's like so many people will settle just as for their closing percentages. But we realize after a little bit of inspection of their process, I've seen this so many times too, they're just settling for the layups out there. Yeah. They're like, oh yeah, these are all the sales I could possibly close, but you're not actually closing anybody or selling anything to anybody. You're just, making all the layups, the easy ones, the people that came to you for solutions, they were going to buy anyway. You just happened to be the person to be there with it. But anyway.
I agree 100% now.
There's
a lot of people that just sell product. They don't sell solutions. Yeah. Right. So, when you look at the concept of annuities, and you look at life insurance, it's part of a plan, right? So part of this whole trying to get someone up from wherever they're at to the next level, right? It's really about who they surround themselves with.
Yeah.
I do believe in coaching and training. I think those are important things that are associated with it. Again, the processes are where, that's what helps them take their time management and turn it into whatever best allocates that sort of sale.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
But those things are important. But, you look at, someone else that might be having those things mastered. Right. And you look at someone that's doing 10, 15 million. Well, the only difference is that they're seeing more people.
Yeah.
Right. That's what we try to explain to anybody that may be a $1 million, $2 million producer is like, how many people are you seeing? How are you allocating your time? What is your business plan? Where are you going? And how we can get you there is really you just, you're closing more people, seeing more opportunities.
Yeah.
And really being more of that holistic advisor, I think, is where the industry is trending to also.
Right.
If someone's coming in, and Ryan, you can attest to this, right? I mean, you are completely holistic. But when you first started, right, when you were trained for some of these agencies, you started with mortgage protection, but that was just one solution that you were offering, right? But now you're completely holistic, right? You're doing assets under management. You have annuities, you have life insurance, you have estate planning, you have the full spectrum of that plan put in place. And I think that's what really will separate people more is that, again, surround yourself with like-minded people because it goes back to that mentality of you are who you hang out with.
Yeah.
Right. Would we all agree with that?
I agree with that. Yeah.
So put yourself in those shoes, get your coach, get your mentor that's set up with it. And then and from that, start adding those spectrums and learn from those coaches to add in what you need to be fully holistic. Because, at the end of the day, when I look at someone that's a complete advisor, they're saying to somebody, hire me to handle everything, not just take a piece. Now, I in some scenarios, I get why some people take a piece of something like maybe like annuity here or there. right? Just to make somebody a client. I get that mentality. But there are certain advisors that I've seen, and Alex, I know you've seen it too, Ryan, is that they go for the full thing in order for them to hire them because of their time management. So it's like a next level thing.
It's a blessing. I mean, honestly, like
it really is.
You're talking about a nuanced question here. It's like if the truth is, and why we can't pinpoint one answer for you is that there's different things for different tiers. If you're a $1 million producer, I guarantee you are not maximizing your time. I guarantee
you're not working. I mean,
you're not working efficiently. You're probably, I see people all the time. They're $1 million producers say, okay, I've been in the business 30 years. I do 1 million. And it's like, okay, well, man, you probably haven't worked more than 5 appointments in a month.
Right.
And so
no,
5
true.
People, Al, that's what they'll say, but they're not putting their energy.
Okay, but then are you taking that money that you've made off those 5 appointments and putting it back into your business? Because cash is king. It's not a healthy.
Because to duplicate your business, you have to start reinvesting back into it. And I think that, so let me just stop, because I'm hearing what you guys are saying, and I want to make sure that we're clarifying it, because these are really important points. I'm hearing you going that the $1 million producer that's been stuck there for 30 years is just not doing a few things. Number one, they're not growing themselves personally. Because, like Alex, like you say, you can take 5 hours a week and pick up a book and grow yourself personally, which is, look, there's no better investment than in you. I mean, Lee and Ryan, you guys have taught me that for the last 7 years. You've pounded that in my head when I'm always like, I need to do better. I need to invest in this. They're like, no, slow down, just invest in you. Like, get better, right? And that's the holistic approach. And it's not just so much going out and doing personal development, but how do you, and I'm listening to you guys going, the people at the top focus and work on getting better at their craft. Because when I met you guys 7 years ago, all I knew was how to write a life insurance app. Knew nothing about annuities, taxes. Give me a break. You think I was going to run a tax firm? Now we run a massive tax firm. You know what I'm saying? Assets under management. I don't want anything to do with wealth management. But now, we have multi-million dollars under management, but that evolution happened because of what you guys are saying. You got to surround yourself with the right people. Take advice from the top. I looked at Lee, who's been my mentor, who's in the field, and I was like, the first day I met him, like, all right, you run a tax practice. Why? Right? I think it's important to, like you said, get around people who are the fire. If you want to be a $5 million producer, like you said, get around someone who's doing $5 to $10 million, and you'll figure out why they're doing $5 million a year. When I met Lee, I'm like, $20 million a year? What the heck are you talking? How are you doing $20 million? And then I had the opportunity to sit there and go, oh, all right, tax practice with 3,000 people. All right, got it. Doing a Social Security workshop almost every single week. Got it. Saw the investment. Sales process. Got it. Okay. And that's the evolution that you're talking about. And so I think, like you said, is these $1 million producers just get stuck in their way. They're not evolving. They're not personally growing, and they're not reinvesting back into your business. Is that what I'm hearing you guys are saying as far as commonality-wise goes?
Yeah. Oftentimes, here's a good one. Oftentimes when I'm talking with folks about the offers at Megastar or whatever, the people that try to control the conversation about stuff that this is what I do for a living,
right.
the people that try to control that conversation around me the most are the people in that $1 million to $2 million range.
Right.
Yeah.
They feel like they know everything. And the people that are most open-minded of any at what we're talking about are the 20 million, $30 million producers. They're just sitting there silently, just waiting to hear, some good nugget, right? Yeah. They're willing to listen. And the 1 to 2 million is like they got a little taste of its success somewhere along the way, and they think they've got it all figured out. And it's like, okay, well, look, man, this is an opportunity for you to grow. But again, $1 to $2 million, you want to do 2 million from 1 million, work a little harder. Fill your calendar. You're either low on capital or low on ability, right? So you need to take that some sort of cash influx into your business, get yourself in front of more prospects because you have the ability, or you're already getting in front of enough prospects and your ability is lacking, right? So you should study or get in front of or get around people or whatever.
Read books,
Audible, whatever it is.
Sales processes.
But you got to be maximizing your time each week, and this has got to be your job, right? It can't be that you dabble in this and this and this and this. It's got to be that retirement planning is your focus.
Sure. Do you see a sweet spot as far as the successful advisors are taking X amount of appointments, right? Is there kind of that sweet spot where you're saying if you're taking 10 appointments a week, first appointments, you're probably going to be on pace to be doing 5 million? I mean, is there a number that you could see that, you should be striving for to get to those kind of results?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you're seeing a new prospect even every day, I mean, if you're going to see one new prospect every day, how hard is that? That's 30 new prospects every month. You're going to have 3 appointments likely if you're any sort of thorough in your process. So you've got 3 appointments for each of those. So that's 90 appointments a month. So first appointments, you've got 30 of those, 30 seconds, 30 thirds. And that'd be a wishful thinking. You're going to close all of them, right?
Yeah.
But okay, let's assume at the best it's 90 appointments. But you've now just sat in front of 50 or 30 new prospects in a month. You close on, maybe half of those, or maybe even just 20% of those, right? Yeah. So what is that? That's going to be 6 new prospects. You've got 6 new clients, of which they all brought 100,000, right? So if you could get 600,000 a month, I mean, geez Louise. Right. But
that's huge.
That's a seriously successful advisor. And at that point, it's just getting better at your closing percentage. So raising it from 20 to 40%. How do I do that? Getting better at my process in general, hiring people to make my life a little easier. So I'm a little less stressed, a little less discombobulated when I sit down with somebody. It's just, those are the types of things that I see successful people. But if you're in front of one person a day, I mean, one new person a day, that's all you got to do.
Yeah. I would stress on that too, Al, is that, and Ryan, you could probably jump in on this also, but hiring somebody to take some of the things off of you so you can focus on what you do best, which is You're a rainmaker, right? So how do you make sure that you're making it rain? You have to get all these other things off of you to focus on those things. And I see that a lot with, $1 million or less producers, is that, they're handling everything. They're handling the apps, they're handling all the things, chasing the business. All those things are done, right? Yeah. And you have to in the beginning. I get that, right? But there comes a point where you need to invest in yourself, in your business, and not only put the marketing in place to get that moving, but also the energy so you could focus on just being a rainmaker.
Well, that's it. And I'll back that because, I mean, one of the things that you guys told me early on was, when I was a solo producer, writing $1 million, thinking that I was on top of the world, you're going, yeah, but how much time do you spend scrubbing apps? How much time do you spend calling the carriers? How much time did you spend with transfers? Oh, by the way, how much time do you spend on the phone booking your own appointments and chasing them down and sending emails? And I started thinking about that. And if you really understand the value of your time, and I think one thing that a lot of people could do is, okay, if you write $1 million, how much is that worth in comp to you every single year? And then figure out how much that actually is per hour. Right. So if you're going, okay, I make $20 an hour. Well, okay, what if you could free up that to make $40 an hour because you're being more effective and efficient and pay somebody 10 to do what it's costing you to do? So like that was something you guys really hammered into me early on. And when I took that leap of faith, I go, okay, I'm going to submit to it. It's uncomfortable, right? I'm making money, but I got to invest into a staff member now. It's a little uncomfortable because I got to pay that person every single week, which means it's going to force me to produce, force me to give up some of my profits. But when I did that, it is amazing how much more effective and efficient you can be and run your business, because now I haven't made a phone call in 5 years as far as booking my own appointments. 5 years. And it allows me to do exactly what you guys are saying. It allows me to do nothing but be on the phone with potential prospects, doing the first appointment, second appointment, third appointment, closing business. And I think what you guys are saying is so important. Too many people miss it. And it's a really big killer of people's business.
So many times I see advisors when I'm sitting in on appointments, you can tell they're not there mentally, and
you can tell by their voice.
A lot of times it's not their fault. It's like they just got off a freaking annoying phone call with something that's blowing up with another client of theirs, or another client's wringing out their neck because they lost money or didn't get the returns they were expecting or whatever. And they're flustered. Yeah. And now they got to listen to somebody new and their problems, and they should be giving just as much treatment to that as they were to the client that they were having issues with, but they're just not there. And just imagine all those headaches gone because somebody else is very capable. That's very capable is handling that for you, or is processing that application. And so you're not Ryan always gets this way. You get in that Excel mode, and like, honestly, he's been in an Excel sheet all day long, and then you ask him to come and be on a show like this or something like that. It takes him a good minute.
You got to switch.
You got to
turn it on.
You got to turn it on.
That happens all the time with advisors.
Yeah.
They sit there and they're filling out applications or something like that, and then they got to go be their lively selves.
Right. Yeah. No, it's a big difference. It is a massive difference when you can focus on what you do best and hire out what you. I suck at a lot of things. I am god awful at a lot of things, but I'm really good at a few things, and those few things are money making activities. And so, no, that's what it comes down to. And guys, listen, this has been so helpful, and I appreciate the both of you being on here and just giving some nuggets. I'm definitely going to have you come back and share more, because we can honestly keep talking for 4 hours here. But this is really what I want for everybody to be watching to really understand is, what does it take to run a big company like you guys do, and what are the commonalities? And I'm really glad that we had the time to dive in on there. Thank you both for not only being on the show, but honestly, for what you've done for my business and my family and everything that, the staff here that we have is because of the path you guys led and allowed me to be able to do so. So thank both of you guys for being on. We really appreciate it. If you guys want to say anything, just wrapping up, and then we'll close it down.
Yeah, man, it's a two-way street, man. We can't thank you enough. I mean, it's not been a lonely a one-way street for us. I mean, we've learned a heck of a lot from you along the way. And quite frankly, in the design of the virtual sales process, you were tremendous help in that as well. I mean, it's a two-way street. For sure. So
it's been a privilege, buddy, being on the show and being with you for all these years. It's a privilege. So
thanks so much. And so everybody, thank you so much for watching this episode of The Agent's Edge. We hope this has been successful for you. We'll see you on the next show. If you've ever wanted to learn how to write over $5 million a year in annuity volume, Level Up Advisors Academy was built for you. In this academy, we talk about things like how to do massive annuity production, assets under management, big whole life and IUL cases. Look, 5 years ago, before I built this product, I didn't even know how to spell the word annuity, but a simple system that I learned allowed me to write over $5 million a year in annuity production, and now over $10 million a year. I took what I know, the system that I've built, and I put it into Level Up Advisors Academy for you to be able to have access to it 24/7 on demand. If you've ever want to take your business to the next level, this academy was built for you. Click the link below to get access today. Look forward to working with you in the future.